Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 2, Supergirl crossover event. Supergirl's part of the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover was a wild ride. This episode brought together not one, not two, but three iconic Supermen from different universes, each playing a significant role in the overarching crisis that's threatening all realities. The plot. The episode picks up with the crisis continuing to unfold across the multiverse. The Anti-Monitor, the villain orchestrating the destruction of Infinite Earths, is ramping up his efforts. Lex Luthor, in a shocking twist, becomes one of the major antagonists in the crossover. In this part of the event, he's trying to kill all the Supermen from across the multiverse, recognizing them as the ultimate threat to his plans. The tension is high as our heroes attempt to stop Luthor and the Anti-Monitor's destruction. But let's get to the really fun part, the Superman cameos. 3 different Supermen, 3 different universes. This episode has one of the coolest crossover moments in recent superhero TV history. For the first time ever on screen, Crisis on Infinite Earths gives us 3 Supermen, each played by a different actor, in one storyline. Let's break down each one. Brandon Routh as Superman, Kingdom Come. Brandon Routh returns to the role of Superman in this episode, reprising the character he played in Superman Returns, 2006. This was a big deal for fans because Routh's Superman is directly tied to the classic Christopher Reeve films. But what's even cooler is that Routh's Superman isn't just the one from Superman Returns. He's playing a version of the character based on the Kingdom Come graphic novel. This Superman has aged, lost his faith, and become much darker. What really grabs fans is the fact that Routh's Superman references Superman 3s, saying something like, "This is the second time I've gone crazy and fought myself," which creates a fun connection to the infamous Superman 3 movie. This nod helps solidify that Superman Returns exists in the same continuity as the original Superman films with Christopher Reeve. Tom Welling as Clark Kent, Smallville. Tom Welling, the beloved Clark Kent from Smallville, makes his return in this crossover as a Clark Kent who's long given up his powers. In the Smallville series, we watched Welling's Clark slowly transition into the hero we know him to be. But in this episode, we see him in a more broken state. He gave up the suit, and in a rather surprising turn of events, he's no longer Superman. This was a big moment for Smallville fans. It's a bit of a bittersweet moment, as we realize how far he's come from the young farm boy who was struggling to control his powers. Then there's Tyler Hoechlin's version of Superman, who's been established as the Superman of the Arrowverse since he debuted in Supergirl. This Superman is probably the most recognizable to fans of the CW series. He's young, hopeful, and heroic, with the classic good guy charm that we've come to love. Hoechlin's Superman is a much more optimistic and cheerful version compared to Routh's darker Kingdom Come Superman. The contrast between the 3 Supermen creates some pretty incredible interactions and makes for some fun moments on screen. Lex Luthor's plan. As the 3 Supermen come together, the real threat of crisis begins to come to light. Lex Luthor, played by John Cryer, is causing a major stir. He's not just some petty villain this time around. He's a bigger threat than ever. In this part of the crossover, Luthor uses the Book of Destiny to rewrite reality and make himself the villainous counterpart to Superman. The Lex we see here is determined to kill all the Supermen in every universe, recognizing that they're the greatest threat to his grand plan. This makes him the perfect antagonist, as his hatred for Superman reaches new heights in this story, themes, and overall tone. This episode of Crisis on Infinite Earths is filled with powerful themes. At its core, it's about heroism, sacrifice, and the idea of identity across different realities. The episode delves into the struggles of these Supermen, each dealing with their own version of what it means to be a hero. Brandon Routh's Superman is jaded, having seen the worst of what heroism can bring, while Tyler Hoechlin's Superman still holds on to hope, and Tom Welling's Clark is someone who's walked away from that responsibility entirely. The show also highlights how different versions of the same character can evolve in very different ways, depending on their circumstances and choices. This theme of alternate realities and how one person can shape different worlds is a big part of Crisis on Infinite Earths. and it resonates with the audiences who've watched these versions of Superman over the years. The bigger picture, the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover. In the grand scheme of things, this episode is just one part of a much larger crossover event that spans multiple shows across the Arrowverse. The whole crossover event is a love letter to comic book fans and a celebration of all things superhero. It's an epic tale of good versus evil that spans across the multiverse, with all kinds of wild twists and surprises. The stakes are incredibly high, and the action is non-stop. In Crisis, we see the introduction of new characters, some familiar faces, and some incredibly intense moments where heroes must come together to save the multiverse. While the episode primarily focuses on Superman and Lex Luthor, there are plenty of nods to the larger Arrowverse storyline, which brings in other beloved characters like The Flash, Arrow, and Batwoman. The combination of the large-scale battles and heartfelt character moments makes Crisis one of the most memorable crossover events in superhero TV history. Final thoughts. This episode of Crisis on Infinite Earths is a celebration of Superman and the different versions of the character that have appeared in pop culture over the years. With Brandon Routh, Tom Welling, and Tyler Hoechlin all sharing the screen, it's an episode that feels like a love letter to fans of the Man of Steel. The episode also does a great job of highlighting the differences between these Supermen, while also showing what they all have in common, their unwavering commitment to doing the right thing. The references to previous Superman films and the way the crossover ties into the larger Arrowverse storyline make it an unforgettable part of the Crisis event. It's a must-watch for anyone who loves the character of Superman and the broader DC universe.